Okay, it's coming now.
Hello, everyone. I present to you the Progress Towards Neglected Tropical Diseases 2030 Roadmap Target for Onchocerciasis in Ghana. The progress, challenges, and critical actions. I'll go through with you with this menu. Of course, we shall talk about the profile of Ghana, a little background information on onchocerciasis, the current situation and progress, some cross-border issues, challenges, and most importantly, all the partners involved in this success. Ladies and gentlemen, with a population of about 34.5 million, Ghana is situated on the west coast of Africa. It borders with Togo, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire. And in Ghana, we have 140 onco-endemic districts. As far back as 1908, high rates of blindness were noticed in the northern part of Ghana. And one medical officer called B.B. Wadi, between 1948 and 1949, found as many as 1,000 cases of blindness in the northern part of Ghana. Between 1974 and 2002, the Onco Control Program, vector control activities in the northern and central part of Ghana was started. In 1997, in the country was initiated the community-directed treatment with ivermectin as a main control strategy. In 2001, onchocerciasis and LF treatment were initiated. In 2008, the APOC supported rapid epidemiological mapping of onchocerciasis in the country. And in 2009, we initiated a twice-year treatment with ivermectin in the country. In 2017, there was an IVM treatment impact assessment in the country with OV16 RDT seroprevalence less than 0.1% in many areas. So that initiated for the first time in 2022 a stop MDA in 2 of the operational transmission zones in Ghana. So, ladies and gentlemen, at the pre-control stage in 1976, as many as 60 to 80% cases of onchocerciasis due to microfilaria prevalence were detected in the northern part of Ghana. And in 2002, when APOC was exiting, most of the areas with a high prevalence had reduced drastically. We can find out also that at the same time in 2017, there was an entomological assessment, and we found 35 breeding sites. 11 of these sites were due to S. damnosium species, 8 sites were due to S. damnosium plus other species, and so forth. So if you look at the situation in Ghana now, you find out that due to, from recent assessment, onchocerciasis transmission has been identified in 8 districts in the 3 regions of Bono, Eastern, and Greater Accra. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2017, the results of the impact assessment using OV16 RDT in children aged between 5 to 9 years showed that many places in the country had a seroprevalence of 0.1% in children aged 5 to 9 years. And many others also had a seroprevalence more than 1%. So, with the presumed impact of subsequent additional biannual IVM treatment, one would suspect a possibility of interruption. So this resulted in an MDA impact assessment in 2 onco operational transmission zones. And this activity has been ongoing in the Pra, Ofin, and Deye Sokoko since 2022. So what did we find in these two onco-transmission zones? If you could find out from the map of Ghana that Deye Sokoko is located towards the eastern border, and Pra, Ofin also at the western part of Ghana, western central part of Ghana. And what we did find was that DBS samples of about 6,000 had been collected in both transmission zones, and black flies as many as 63,000 had also been collected. And we are working on the analysis to come up with some useful findings. So I present to you the survey team that was involved in this activity, and you can see from the central part vividly the chairperson of the Ghana Onco Elimination Program. So there had been another study that is led by the CDC. And this study, the objective of this study is to evaluate whether the OV16 seroprevalence less or equal to 2% can be safely used to stop MDA without the risk of recrudescence when the prevalence of OV15 PCR positivity is less than 1 per 1,000 in Paros black flies or less than 1 per 2,000 in all black flies at the upper 95% confidence interval in two transmission zones. That is in one transmission zone, that is the white coupon transmission zone that is located in Ghana. And what have we found so far? Good news over here. We realize that the OV16 RDT results, the percentage positive was 1.3. The OV16 ELISA results over here, we got 0.09. And for the post-screening, we got 0.013. And with these results, Ghana had qualified and the study has moved to a stage 2. So these were some of the scenery from the field. You could see the CDC-led person here, Dr. Paul Kante, addressing a section of the trainees. Down there, you could also find some of the scenery from the field work and so forth, lab and other areas. The trend of our OncoMDA coverage had been so encouraging. You could also find out that right from 2017 up to now, the coverage has been so encouraging, plateauing around 80-85%. There had been a study on onco-elimination mapping with an objective to determine the onchocerciasis seroprevalence in 8 onco non-endemic areas in Ghana to inform the program on possible MDA initiation. Specifically, we looked at the prevalence of onchocerciasis bullous infection using OV16 RDT in adults 20 years and above in 7 onco non-endemic areas. So what did we find? Out of the 5 black fly breeding sites of the 8 non-endemic onco and non-endemic areas, 7 communities achieved a statistical threshold of greater than 5% equal or greater than 5%. And in 2 of the districts recorded, and we found out that only 2 of the districts recorded this. So we concluded that the 2 districts, namely Ayesuan and German North, may be considered for OncoMDA because they did achieve a statistical threshold of 5% and more. It is, however, recommended that the other onco non-endemic districts in Ghana also be evaluated for onco-transmission. There was a pre-stop activity in 2 operational transmission zones in Ghana, which was initiated last year. And these transmission zones were the Pro-Afram and the white water coupon. What did we intend doing? We intended to assess the impact of OncoMDA at the upper section of the white coupon and the Pro-Afram transmission zones, and specifically to determine seroprevalence of onchocerciasis in children 5 to 9 years in these areas. So what did we find? In the Pro-Afram, transmission zone, we realized that in all the places, only one community recorded 9 OV16 positive cases, and the rest of the communities recorded either 1 or no case. And also in the white voter coupon transmission zone, we realized that all the communities selected recorded 0 seroprevalence in the by the blood samples provided. So this tells us all that there has been a drastic reduction in the onco transmission in these transmission zones. There is ongoing an activity on impact assessment of mass drug administration for onchocercasis. This project was initiated, being funded by NFund recently. Currently, it's ongoing, and field workers are on the field. Objectives here basically is to undertake an epidemiological and entomological monitoring and evaluation in 3 onchocercasis operational transmission zones, and these are the Otidaka, Blackwater, and Tano and Cobra. What has been ongoing concerning the other transmission zones? As at now, we can say that for Esu, Daye-Sipoko, and Pra-Ofen, we've stopped onco. It's under stop onco MDA. Then with white voter coupon, pre-stop was done in 2023 and considered for stop this year. So that is white coupon, water coupon, and Pro-Afram. For the rest of the transmission zone, being Otidaka, Tano and Cobra, and Blackwater, we plan doing a pre-stop this year and possibly a stop MDA next year. Issues concerning our borders have been so encouraging. Already there has been interruption of transmission demonstrated in the southern half of the eastern borders of Ghana, that is with Togo. MDA had been stopped for 2 years in these areas. And we are now going to start stop onco MDA in the upper northern part of Ghana. We've also realized a good situation at the borders outside Ghana as well noted and most encouraging. There have been a few cross-border collaboration meetings. Last year we had a meeting with Togo, and we plan having one with Ivory Coast this year. And basically we've been discussing issues pertaining to our borders, namely synchronization of MDAs, logistics, and other issues. It has been so encouraging. Of course, the program is saddled with a few challenges, being administratively and managerial. In this wise, we are looking at low remuneration for CDDs, inadequate funding for effective monitoring and supervision, and technically, we are looking at high non-compliance to treatment, seasonal migration, difficulty in synchronizing MDAs, delays in analyzing stop onco black fly collected, and of course, insecurity. We do sincerely, and I must repeat, sincerely, we do acknowledge the contributions from our able partners, being USAID Act to End, NTD West, the NFund, the Medicine Development for Global Health, Site Savers, all the regional health directorate, district health directorate, community leaders and volunteers, and of course, all health workers who have contributed to the success of this work. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Merci beaucoup à Dr Opare pour sa présentation. Pour ceux qui ont pris le train en marche, Dr Opare est le coordonnateur du programme au Ghana. Et dans sa présentation, il nous a relaté de l'histoire de l'onco au Ghana, les enquêtes qui avaient été conduites en termes de pré-arrêt, les études de recherche opérationnelle sur le seuil qui ont donné de bons résultats, nécessitant ainsi au passage 2 de cette étude. Il a présenté le résultat des enquêtes de la cartographie d'élimination de l'onco, les défis et les difficultés, et aussi des problèmes transfrontaliers. Et comme vous pouvez le voir, Ghana a fait des progrès énormes vers l'élimination, malgré les défis, avec l'appui de tous les partenaires. L'élimination n'est pas possible sans le soutien du comité indépendant d'élimination de l'onco. Avec cela, je vais demander à Nadia de présenter de nous balancer la présentation du docteur Yacoum Dazi, qui est le président du comité d'élimination de l'onco du Ghana, qui donne des avis techniques et des orientations au programme.
The Ghana Onco Elimination Committee is a technical advisory committee formed in December 2016. This is the picture of members in the first year. We had membership of 15 with expertise in epidemiology, entomology, research, biostatistics. Unfortunately, no representation in social science. But we make up for the handicap by inviting expertise whenever necessary to make a presentation to the meeting. The committees include partners who are often represented by country representatives. The ministry itself is represented by the Director of Public Health, and of course, the Program Manager of NTD program is also a member, and WHO is included. The committee is very pleased to present a research it has been backing the NTD program to carry out. This is a research into the feasibility of safely stop MDA at a seroprevalence threshold of 2% in children aged 5 to 9 years without the risk of any recrudescence. This is a research recommended by the OTS, and it's on the basis of modeling finding that interruption of transmission of onchocerciasis probably is already at 2% in seroprevalence in children aged 5 to 9 years. We developed a sampling design made up of pre-control community endemicity level and treatment history, which we use to divide the operation transmission zones, the 2 transmission zones we worked in, into strata of high-risk foci and low-risk areas. Now, the 2 transmission zones you see, the dark green is pra-ofin, and the light green is Diazoxycoco. And kindly note this area with the yellow. It's an example of the transmission of a high-risk focus. It's called Daboisi, and I will come to it later. There is another high-risk focus here and a third one here in pra-ofin, and the rest of the area will be the lower risk area. In Diazoxycoco, we have 4 high-risk foci, and the rest being the low-risk area. Here you have the research results. In serology, the red highlight is the results from Daboisi, the yellow area I asked you to pay attention to. This stratum was disqualified because the serological results in 5 to 9 year old seroprevalence was more than 2%, as you see, 6.1%, and on the upper limit of confidence limit at 7.8, 7.1 less if we will consider the final population. Apart from that, all the high-risk foci and the low-risk areas, so all strata in both pra-ofin transmission zone and Diazoxycoco transmission zone had seroprevalence under 2%. Treatment has been stopped in all the transmission zones, so Diazoxycoco and pra-ofin, except in Daboisi where there was disqualification, where MDA continues. Now, to the right, you see the entomology. We have fly collection in the first year in Proud of Fin being 18,374. And in Dai Asukoko, 45,400. In the second year, in Proud of Fin, 17,386. This excludes the Boise, so it's marginally less. And in Dai Asukoko, it's 63,656. These flies were collected in about 26 fly collection area. This is already a lot, and it was done so to compensate for sparsity of flies that were collected. And you see that particularly in Proud of Fin, a bigger area with less number of flies collected. In fact, in the center of Proud of Fin, hardly any flies were collected. And if we compare the results with our historical records, OCP records, it is very striking. We have also developed research study to try to understand why this is happening. To some extent, we know illegal gold mining in that area is causing that, but it's a general phenomenon which we need to understand. So the first of the research is what is called satellite imagery analysis over the last 40 years to try to see the changes in the ecology and what could have contributed to it to help our understanding. At the same time, potential fly breeding areas where there are no flies breeding will do analysis. We will do analysis of the water there collected there to see whether the water can support fly breeding. And then, of course, we also do quality studies in the area to try to see what the population think. So finally, we have the GOEC recommendation from the last meeting, which happened over 2 months or so ago. And these are 8 points. I wouldn't like to read everything, but I will call attention to the first one, which is important because we are recommending to the program to carefully document all program activities, knowing that we are really heading towards the end of elimination of onchocerciasis. And at the end of it, we will submit our dossier, and that will be the documentation of all our activities. I would also like to point out the last two recommendations. The last but one, we are recommending already implementation of Stop MDA in operation transmission zones of Crew of Farm and the upper section of White Volta coupon, because they've passed the pre-control. That will then bring our total transmission zones under Stop MDA to 4. So the last 3 of our operation transmission zones are currently undergoing pre-stop, and the results will help us to determine our national roadmap of onchocerciasis. We believe that by 2030, all treatment in the whole country would have stopped, and probably we would be ready to submit our dossier to request for verification of elimination of onchocerciasis in Ghana. Already, about 40% of our MDA has been stopped because of Stop MDA activities we are carrying out in the country. Finally, I would like to acknowledge, acknowledgements have already occurred, but our research institute, CSIR and NMI, Noguchi Memorial Research Institute, are part of this research institute supporting the NTD program. And also we'd like to acknowledge Core NTD, which has been funding the research we presented earlier. I thank you.
OK. Un grand merci à Dr. Yacoum Dazi. Donc, nous venons de suivre 2 présentations par le président du comité et le coordonnateur. Nous allons passer maintenant à la deuxième étape de ce webinaire, qui portera sur réalisé sans l'appui technique et financier de certains partenaires. Et pour cette deuxième partie, nous avons 3 délégués de 3 institutions, ANFOND, Site Service, and USAID Act to End NTD West Program. Sans plus tarder, je vais demander à Nadia de nous balancer la présentation enregistrée.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak on the NFAN's involvement in Ghana onchocerciasis elimination. The Ghana onchocerciasis program has achieved significant progress, as been mentioned in earlier presentations, and the role of partners from the WHO OCP to the current partners in this effort cannot be ignored.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, are you speaking to me? In line with the current ongoing discussion on strengthening strategies for country ownership and leadership, the NFAN's role in the fight against onchocerciasis is based on advocacy and communication, support for strong country leadership, as well as providing the necessary financial and technical assistance to the country program. The photos shown on this slide depict some of the activities that are done in this vein. In the photos, you see the advocacy and communication where members of the diplomatic corps involved in funding the NFAND are visited and spoken to about the activities of the NFAND in the country and also the country program. Supporting strong country leadership, giving the opportunity for the countries to lead all the activities that are done within the country. Providing financial support and then technical support as also shown in the photographs below. There are many drivers that has led to the progress and the current situation in the country. The progress made in Ghana is driven, as I've said, by many factors. Some of the important ones in which the NFAND has been involved in include providing information for country staff to understand the processes for the elimination of onchocerciasis transmission. After the paradigm shift from control to elimination of transmission, it was expected that programs' activities were not going to be business as usual. But without understanding what is at stake and the processes involved, nothing will change. And so some of the activities that we have been involved in has been having meetings with the country program to explain the processes and also the role of the country program for this elimination effort. That way, it helps the programs to understand what is at stake and therefore take charge of what they need to do. Another activity is the flexibility of funding support. During implementation, one observes challenges that need to be resolved within the year. However, without a flexible funding mechanism, these challenges cannot be resolved. Another is supporting countrywide assessments. Activities for evaluation, if done in parts of the country without taking cognizance of the whole country activity, results in extending the duration of examination effort. Therefore, the end fund supports countrywide assessments to make sure that all parts of the country are looked at the same time. Other factors include early activities of the OCP and NAPOC, an effective country program leadership, and NOEC, among others.
Thank you very much. I see Dr. Didier, are you online?
Yes, yes, I'm online. Sorry, it's raining here, so the network is a bit tough. So thank you, Daniel. We will move now to David's presentation. Can you hear me, Nadia?
Yes, I can hear you. I will open David's slides.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Nadia. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you SciSaver's role in the onco elimination in Ghana. Next slide, please, Nadia. For us, the onchocerciasis support has been a long journey, beginning from the 1950s, where our founder, Sir John Wilson, led the first ever surveys. Since then, we've provided support in different ways, determined by the government's priority and needs at a point in time. These supports are usually in the form of technical assistance and funding. Next slide, please. Over the years, the support has gone to areas such as mass drug administration, research, and monitoring and evaluation, health system strengthening, and program improvement. I'll touch briefly on each of these. Next slide, please. As far as mass drug administration is concerned, data available to us indicate that between 2004 and 2022, SciSaver supported the Ghana program to deliver over 60 million treatments of ivermectin. The bars, each of the bars indicates the number of people treated in the various years. Next slide, please. We have been supporting research over the years, and currently we have two important research projects that are ongoing. The Wenchi oncoprevalence research, which is looking at the reason for the high prevalence, the sustained high prevalence in that part of the country. And then the DISECT project, which is contributing to improving the protocol for entomological assessment globally. We've been supporting the Stop MDA surveys, and the current Stop MDA survey that is ongoing, we are supporting the entomological aspect. We also support impact assessments and coverage evaluation survey. And the very recent coverage evaluation survey was in 2023, covering 6 districts across the country. Next slide, please. To ensure sustainability of program outcomes of the Ghana Onco-Elimination Program, we support activities that strengthen the health system, including the provision of relevant equipment and the production of strategic documents and policy documents. The most recent ones being the master plan and the investment case, and the NTD field guide, which is a handbook for NTDs for field frontline health workers in Ghana. Along with this, we also provide capacity building. Currently, we are supporting the program to train health workers across the country to use the NTD field guide. And so far, we've trained about 1,200 of them. Next slide, please. We also ensure program improvement, specifically as part of our mass drug administration activities. We always ensure that we include safeguarding in the training as well as the sensitization so that the program can deliver safe mass drug administration. We also ensure leave no one behind. For example, ensuring that the micro planning takes into consideration people that are likely to be left behind, including people in prison, people in prayer camps, and so on. And then we also support inclusion, including the inclusion of gender inclusion and inclusion of persons with disabilities. Next slide, please. In terms of factors for success, the strong national coordination that is provided by the Ghana NTD program is one that can be mentioned. The presence of the program ensures that there is smooth coordination and there's no confusion. Every stakeholder knows what he's supposed to do. And I think there's also effective stakeholder collaboration. Luckily in Ghana, we really collaborate well, Site Savers, FHI 360 program, and so on. We always try to not to duplicate efforts, but to complement each other's effort. And I think this is working very well. There have been instances where one activity that one partner cannot fund, we come together and then we co-fund it. And I think that has gone a long way to support the program to move ahead. Then the existence of a strong expert committee. The expert committee is a strong one, offering advice all the time to the program. And I think their participation has been a good one. Then the last one is the acceptance of ivermectin across Ghana. In many communities in Ghana, ivermectin is sought after. People will go to the community volunteer to find out if the drug is ready, and this high acceptance across the country, I think has also contributed to the success. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, David. We'll now move to the next presenter, who's Ernest Mensah from USAID Act to End NTD's West Program. Ernest, you have the floor for 3 to 5 minutes maximum.
Thank you, Didier. Nadia, please share my slides. Is it possible to put it in presentation mode, please? Thank you. So I also want to share our gratefulness to WHO for inviting us to share our perspective on the achievements of the Ghana Onco program. Next slide, please. Right, so the role of Act West in onchocerciasis elimination in Ghana. FHI 360 has managed USAID support for 5 PCNTDs in Ghana since 2010. It was managed first under USAID's End Neglected Tropical Diseases in Africa project from 2010 to 2018. And currently, USAID's Act to End NTD's West program, which started in 2018 and would go on through 2026. It is noteworthy that USAID support for the Ghana Onco-Elimination Program actually predates the 2010 project. Act West support encompasses ensuring that the strategic direction of the NTD program is achieved as captured in the NTD Master Plan, WHO guidelines that the program adopts for their work. Act West also supports the work of the Onchocerciasis Expert Committee and their recommendations to the program. The support also aims to enhance the capacity of the program in technical areas, program and financial management. There is support that goes directly for interventions related to mapping, mass drug administration, impact surveys, and then also for procurement related to reagents, and then also tests related to laboratory. We also support transportation, making sure that the country are equipped with the necessary transportation and vehicles to be able to carry out the numerous field activities that are necessary. Next slide, please. In terms of drivers of progress and current situation, onchocerciasis elimination programs usually have been long, and like the program manager has said, Ghana's program is almost 5 decades old, and over such a long period, we believe that the country's leadership and commitment to the onchocerciasis elimination agenda is a key driver for their success. Over such a long period, there have been staff changes, leadership changes, but the program has maintained its focus for elimination. Secondly, as other speakers have mentioned, coordination of partnerships to meet program requirements has been very important. Next slide. There are a few areas that we thought that the program should continue to exert vigilance on to ensure that this progress is sustained. First is that we've noted that the impact of environmental changes has resulted in changes in black fly breeding sites with new areas of vector activity. It is important to ensure that the program monitors this carefully and make sure that the right response is put in place. Secondly, it is important to adapt to field context to ensure that the intervention objectives in all transmission zones are met. Finally, a program like that of Ghana is very important and has hosted a lot of research in the country to support the global elimination effort. Coupled with multiple partners with different funding streams, we believe that it is important for the program to coordinate the activities of research and then of partner support to ensure that program implementation is on course at every point in time. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Ernest. We'll be moving to the next part of this session on cross-border collaborations. Ghana shares border with Togo, Burkina Faso, and Cote d'Ivoire. We are already running behind time. I'm going to ask the first presenter from Burkina Faso to share some issues, cross-border issues they have with Ghana. Justin, vous avez la parole. Justin, vous avez 5 minutes maximum.
Merci beaucoup
5 minutes.
de m'avoir donné la parole et merci aussi pour cette opportunité pour qu'on puisse échanger sur la collaboration transfrontalière. Donc, voilà, diapo. Comme vous le savez, le Burkina Faso fait frontière avec le Ghana. Et actuellement, il y a 4 districts qui sont endémiques à l'onchocercose. Voilà, donc parmi ces 4 districts-là qui font frontière, il y a 3 qui font frontière avec le Ghana, c'est-à-dire notamment des Batie, Danom et Gawa. Donc, c'est le Bas Mouhoun là qui sépare, voilà, les deux pays. Et, voilà, et il y a cette mobilité au niveau de ces frontières. Diapo. Je pense que le traitement est mis en œuvre depuis 2013, soutenu par ISAID dans cette région. Donc, au niveau de l'état actuel d'élimination au niveau de l'Onco, au niveau de la frontière avec le Ghana, je pense que c'est comme je le disais, c'est trois districts bâtis où nous avons réalisé l'évaluation de base en 2011, où les prévalences étaient à 9,70. Je pense que 5 années après, il y a eu une évaluation d'impact, voilà, en 2018, où les prévalences étaient vraiment faibles. Il était à 3,54. Donc, ce sont des villages, en tout cas, qui ne sont pas loin. En tout cas, au niveau des autres districts, les prévalences sont assez bonnes. Voilà. Donc, en 2023, nous avons réalisé le pré-stop, vu les prévalences qui sont bonnes. Nous avons réalisé le pré-stop dans 20 villages, voilà, au niveau de la région du sud-ouest. Je pense que nous avons pu collecter plus de 2000 DBS. Nous attendons. Et certainement, en fonction de ces résultats, si ces résultats sont bons, nous allons passer à l'évaluation d'arrêt du traitement dans cette zone. Diapo. Diapo. M'entendez? Voilà. Donc, comme enjeu de la collaboration, en tout cas, nous avons suivi avec intérêt la présentation du Ghana, où nous nous sommes rendus compte que, en tout cas, la situation aussi évolue favorablement. Donc, cela nous réjouit. Mais au niveau de ces frontières, en tout cas, il y a une nécessité de couverture thérapeutique aux frontières. Ça veut dire que lors des traitements, voilà, il y a des populations qui nous échappent et qui peuvent se retrouver du Ghana, voilà, et les rattraper. Donc, on peut avoir des bonnes couvertures ou des couvertures aussi élevées. Maintenant, comme enjeu également, par rapport à la coordination, il y a une insuffisance de coordination et de synchronisation des interventions transfrontalières. Donc, ça veut dire conjointe. Voilà, si c'était de façon conjointe, il se pourrait que personne n'échappe au traitement. Donc, également, comme il y a le flux migratoire, cela aussi pourrait, en tout cas, engendrer un risque sur la propagation de la maladie. Et comme l'autre enjeu aussi, c'est les évaluations. Je pense qu'ils sont en train d'aller vers l'élimination. Donc, il faut qu'on fasse ces évaluations de façon conjointe pour s'assurer qu'au niveau des frontières, tout est propre, tout est clean et que nous sommes sur le droit chemin. Et comme autre enjeu aussi, cela pourrait aussi, le fait qu'il y ait cette mobilité populationnelle, cela pourrait également jouer sur, en tout cas, l'atteinte de l'objectif, parce que nous sommes fixés également, en tout cas 2030, pour pouvoir éliminer l'onchocercose. Diapo. Voilà. Je pense que...
Prière de conclure, Justin.
Voilà, d'accord. Je pense, Diapo, qu'il y ait vraiment une collaboration transfrontalière entre les deux pays de façon régulière et mettre en place un dispositif efficace. Et ce qui va nous permettre de partager les informations et de faire des planifications conjointes, soit au niveau des interventions pour pouvoir accélérer l'objectif d'élimination. Donc, je m'excuse d'avoir dépassé le temps. En tout cas, c'était vraiment intéressant pour moi. Merci beaucoup. Donc, je
Okay,
laisse à
merci
s'il y a
beaucoup.
des éventuelles questions.
Okay,
Merci.
merci beaucoup. We'll be moving now to the next presentation from Côte d'Ivoire. We are sorry that colleagues from Togo will not present because of the delay. But we have a webinar already scheduled for June 11th. So Togo will be presenting on June 11th. Je donne la parole maintenant à Hugues pour nous faire l'économie de sa présentation en 5 minutes sur les aspects transfrontaliers entre le Ghana et la Côte d'Ivoire. Hugues, vous avez la parole. And meanwhile, we do have a lot of questions in the Q&A box and chats. Presenters, please kindly address some of the questions already asked by some of the persons attending this meeting.
Bonjour à tous, j'espère que vous m'entendez.
On vous entend.
Ok, je suis Dr Ngassa, point focal Oncocercose en Côte d'Ivoire. J'ai la charge de vous présenter l'Oncocercose en Côte d'Ivoire, la situation transfrontalière. Diapo. Donc, comme plan, nous aurons à présenter le pays, l'Oncocercose en Côte d'Ivoire, avoir des informations sur les districts transfrontaliers avec le Ghana et puis les problèmes transfrontaliers. Diapo. Ok, la Côte d'Ivoire est un pays d'Afrique de l'Ouest avec une superficie de 322 462 km², avec une population de près de 29 millions d'habitants en 2024. Il a comme pays frontalier au nord-ouest le Mali, le Burkina au nord-est, ensuite ouest le Libéria, au sud le golfe de Guinée, à l'ouest la Guinée et à l'est le Ghana. Diapo. L'oncocercose en Côte d'Ivoire, la prise en charge a commencé depuis 1974 à 2002 avec la cartographie qui a été faite par l'OCP. À ce jour, nous avons au moins 97 districts sanitaires qui sont endémiques à l'oncocercose sur les 113 et 90 qui sont co-endémiques à la filariose lymphatique. Nous avons un réseau hydrographique de près de 11 bassins fluviaux avec la cartographie des gîtes lavaires qui a permis de mettre en évidence 114 gîtes lavaires productifs sur ces 11 bassins fluviaux. Diapo. Les districts frontaliers au Ghana, nous avons au total 9 districts. Partant du nord jusqu'au sud, nous avons Bouna, Moluku, Tanchia, Anibleko, Unfao, Abengourou, Bétier, Tiapoum et Aboissou. Tous ces 9 districts sont endémiques à l'oncocercose. Nous avons 3 bassins fluviaux que nous partageons avec le Ghana, tels que la Volta Noire, la Komwe au nord-est et la Bia au sud-est. Diapo. Au nombre de ces 9 districts, nous avons le district de Bouna, qui, lors des dernières évaluations en 2010, avait une prévalence de 10,1%. Et après 11 tours de traitement avec des couvertures épidémiologiques de 88%, avec deux gîtes lavaires retrouvés dans la zone de Bouna, nous avons fait récemment le pré-stop en 2023 dans 10 villages de première ligne dans le district de Bouna. Nous avons retrouvé au niveau de 2 villages de première ligne, nous avons eu des prévalences supérieures à 2. Le cumul de prévalence nous a donné un total de prévalence de 1,1% dans la zone de Bouna, et qui est traversée par la Volta Noire. Au niveau de Bondoukou, Bondoukou était grand, donc a été divisé après en 3 districts sanitaires, qui est Transia, Kounfao. Mais au début, la prévalence était à 49%. Après les différents tours de traitement avec des couvertures plus ou moins satisfaisantes, nous avons fait la cartographie des gîtes lavaires dans cette zone où nous avons trouvé des gîtes lavaires présents à Transia et à Kounfao. Les évaluations dans cette zone sont prévues pour 2024. Nous prévoyons faire le pré-stop dans les villages libérés de Transia et de Kounfao. À Bétier, nous avons eu des prévalences lors des évaluations d'impact en 2021. Nous avons 3,4% dans cette zone et nous avons fait les différents traitements de masse. Aussi dans la zone de Tiapoum et d'Anibleko où les prévalences sont toujours élevées. depuis 2021 pour les dernières évaluations, mais nous avons fait les traitements de masse dans ces zones. Lors de la cartographie des gîtes larvaires, nous avons retrouvé au moins un gîte productif dans ces différentes zones. Nous allons planifier des évaluations pré-arrêt incessamment en 2025. OK, diapo. Au niveau des frontières, des différents problèmes frontaliers, nous avons une grande migration des populations dans nos différentes frontières. En plus, nous avons des prévalences des districts frontaliers qui sont beaucoup élevés. Nous avons aussi des différences d'approche. Certains utilisent le TIDC, d'autres utilisent les différents TDM. Nous avons une véritable absence de synchronisation de la distribution au niveau de ces districts frontaliers, une absence de coordination des activités aussi transfrontalières. Diapo. Comme enjeu, nous souhaitons synchroniser les traitements de masse de l'onchocercose dans les districts frontaliers, organiser les évaluations pré-arrêt dans les districts ayant au moins 10 tours de traitement réguliers. Nous avons un problème nous voulons définir le réseau de villages de première et deuxième ligne et les points de capture des signaux dans les districts transfrontaliers. Aussi, organiser des réunions du comité des experts nationaux et internationaux de lutte contre l'onchocercose en invitant les différents pays voisins afin de synchroniser nos activités. Nous voulons aussi organiser des réunions transfrontalières afin de mener des actions conjointes. Voilà ainsi présenté brièvement les enjeux de la Côte d'Ivoire avec le Ghana. Nous vous remercions.
Merci beaucoup, Dr. Hugues, pour la présentation sur les enjeux transfrontaliers. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to open the floor for questions and comments. I know some of the questions have already been asked and dropped in the Q&A box and chat box. But if your question was not addressed, please feel free to raise your hand. I'm going to give you the floor. So we have 25 minutes for the Q&A session. So I know Professor Gary raised quite a number of questions. I don't know, Professor Gary, whether your questions have been addressed. Gary, you have the floor. Gary, are you there? Okay. Okay, if you do have a question, please feel free to raise your hand. I'll give you the floor.
Hear you.
Okay.
Thank you, Didier. You know, some of the things listed as questions from me were not actually from me, so I don't know, but I did raise a couple. One was about coordination between the different partners, and I think that Daniel answered well that the different partners work in different parts of the country and do try to coordinate so they don't, there's not to minimize redundancy. Yes. Another question was Dr. Dazi said they were trying to decide to test whether antibody prevalence in children ages 5 to 9, less than 2%, was a good marker for interruption of transmission. And sometimes children are not exposed as much as adults. So I raised the question, okay, they see this seroprevalence in children. How can they prove that transmission has been interrupted, and how to verify that? And I didn't hear an answer to that.
Okay. Okay, can we?
Can I
yes,
clarify
Daniel.
a bit of that?
Yes, Daniel.
Yeah, Gary, I think the response to that is it's not only the serology that's going to be used in making the decision. The entomological components are also, sorry, I'm supposed to get my video. Yeah, I was saying that Dr. Dazi will maybe respond a bit to that, but I was saying that it's not only the serology that's going to be used in making that decision. This is an operational research to try and see whether instead of the current threshold that is required, if you go to below 2%, if that is also going to give you, compared together with the entomology results, whether you'll then be able to make a decision instead of the current very stringent 0.1% for serology. So it's just the combination of both the entomology and the serology. Dr. Dadzie, I think you want to contribute.
Dr. Dadzie, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Dadzie has said it properly. There are two aspects of the study. The serology is where we have results already, and that is what I showed. I think I also mentioned that there is entomological aspect, and we mentioned the collection of the total number of flies that have been collected. They are currently all being analyzed. Unfortunately, it's taken a little long, but it is a part of the research that you don't have all the results ready. But the main thing is that we expect that the results, the entomological results, will give us an infectivity level in each of the two transmission zones at 1 L3 in 2,000 flies, at less than 1 L3 in 2,000 flies, at the upper confidence level of 95% confidence level. So I think within the next 4 weeks or so, we have the answer, and then we'll be able to say correctly that the interruption of transmission entomologically is perfect. So the less than 2% we've done corresponds to also serological marker of interruption of transmission. That is what we are aiming to do.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to take some of the questions in the Q&A. There's one question from an anonymous attendee asking, okay, I'm going to read the question. The WHO Esperance website data on MDA coverage shows there is no MDA with ivermectin treatment reported for 2018. Please, does this mean there was no MDA in 2018? And if yes, what accounted for this? For which country? Burkina Faso, Ghana, or Côte d'Ivoire? The person who asked this question, can you please clarify? Hello, could you please take the floor and clarify? So, without knowing the country, what I would like to say is if we did not receive any, let's say, MDA reporting data from the country, there's no way that we are going to review and upload the data. So maybe we need to check which country are you referring to, and then we can provide additional information. So let's look at this after. There's another question by Dr. Yebakima asking, what is the situation in the Subende area now? I think this question is for Ghana.
Yeah, thank you so very much. Yes. Yeah, thank you so much, Didier. Yes, it's not an issue as it used to be. Yeah, so as at now, the prevalence is quite low over there. So that's what we can say for now. Thank you.
Okay. May I add one more thing to strengthen it? Yes.
Yes.
Not only that, in fact, that is one of the areas that is going to stop MDA now. So the Asubende area is in the transmission zone of through or from operation transmission zone of through or from, and it's starting stop MDA now. So it is so beautiful to know those of us who are involved in Asubende those days and what is happening today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Patrick, I don't know whether your question was addressed on the NOC decision to stop MDA in Dai and Pra transmission zones despite absence of anti-result and less than 2% seroprevalence. Was the question addressed, Patrick? If not, colleagues from Ghana kindly address this question raised by Patrick on the decision to stop MDA based only on AP.
I think I will start and then maybe the Ghana program or the NOEC can continue. I don't think the decision has been made to stop. As the NOEC chair mentioned, and as the program director also mentioned, we were waiting for the results of the entomology. But for now, the initial results indicate there's the strong possibility that they can move on. So the entomological results will be added before a final decision is taken. So Patrick, that's the situation now.
Thank you. Anyone from Ghana would like to comment on?
Yes, in actual fact, I don't think I would like to comment as confirmed that what he said was just what is happening. And that was what we are going to see.
Okay. There's another question from Blandine. What was the rationale of biannual MDA decision in 2009 in Ghana? You mentioned that in 2009, the decision was made to move from annual to biannual MDA. What was the rationale? Ghana team?
I think, okay, go ahead.
No, sir, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
No, you say it, you have the floor.
All right, it was all geared towards the onco elimination when we had to change from control to elimination. So realize that in order to meet the 2030 roadmap, we needed to move on into twice treatment nationwide. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm scrolling down to check some of the questions in the chats. Quickly. Thank you, Ernest. Selon l'OMS, il faut procéder plutôt au prélèvement des 6 mouches. Moins et non 2000. Celui qui a posé Mahamat, vous dites que selon l'OMS, il faut procéder plutôt à un prélèvement sur 6000 mouches, au moins et non 2000. Pourriez-vous clarifier votre question? Moi, personnellement, je ne la comprends pas. Mahamat. Okay, pendant que nous attendons Mahamat, Ngayo, you have the floor. Please on your microphone and ask your question. Ngayo, allez-y. Ngayo, je vous ai donné la parole.
Merci à toutes et à tous. Félicitations pour cette présentation. Alors, c'est un commentaire et une question. Le premier commentaire, c'est par rapport à la présentation relative à la problématique frontalière. Et j'ai remarqué, surtout par rapport à la Côte d'Ivoire, ils ont parlé de forte prévalence au niveau frontalier. Alors, la question de savoir cette forte prévalence, est-ce que c'est au niveau de la Côte d'Ivoire ou bien au niveau du Ghana, et quelles sont les personnes qui sont concernées par cette situation? Et ma préoccupation maintenant, c'est par rapport au pré-stop. Si ces populations, comme le Dr Is a dit, Côte d'Ivoire, au moment de faire pré-stop, et ça c'est une question peut-être aux experts, est-ce qu'ils doivent tenir compte des cas au niveau du Ghana ou vice-versa? En tout état de cause, si les prévalences sont élevées au niveau de la Côte d'Ivoire, ils font des pré-stops au niveau des zones, villages frontaliers, et de l'autre côté également, les prévalences sont élevées, mais ils n'ont pas pré-stop. Qu'adviendra-t-il des résultats de la Côte d'Ivoire, en sachant que déjà, De l'autre côté, il y a des fortes prévalences déjà par rapport à l'étude EPI. L'autre, pour terminer, c'est par rapport au laboratoire qui revient tout le temps. Et je vois que dans la présentation de, je ne sais pas si je me trompe, Burkina, ils ont envoyé des DBS au laboratoire ESPEN, PESTOP. Est-ce qu'ils ont une idée du retour des résultats? Et quelle est la durée acceptable par rapport au retour de ces résultats? Et si est-ce qu'il n'y a pas, et ça je vous pose la question également à M. Daniel, qu'est-ce qui est prévu pour au moins au niveau des pays pour les permettre d'être performants par rapport aux laboratoires? Nous envoyons nos échantillons à des laboratoires de référence de l'OMS, mais est-ce qu'il n'est pas temps aussi de pouvoir donner une certaine autonomie, évidemment avec l'accompagnement, pour que les pays puissent faire leurs analyses à temps et avoir les résultats à temps? Merci.
OK, merci beaucoup.
Can I
Daniel,
respond to that?
I will comment also.
Yeah, I think the first thing to always keep in mind is the fact that, as far as I know, for example, in Senegal, the flies that were collected in 2023 have just been sent to the lab in Ouagadougou in 2024. And yet at meetings, it may come out as if the flies were sent in 2023 and the lab in Ouagadougou have not worked on those flies. That is an erroneous presentation of issues. Secondly, in terms of the DBS, when you talk of the lab in Ouaga and Burkina Faso, the lab in Ouagadougou is in Burkina Faso. And so it's not like sending samples from Ghana to Burkina Faso. That is the other thing. Yes, currently there are studies that are almost showing that doing DBS is almost, the results are almost equivalent to doing ELISAs. And I think when this happens, most countries for now do not send DBS to the ESPEN lab for RDTs. The RDTs are done mostly in country. And so I think we have to be careful when we're discussing lab issues. The reason why in Ghana, in Mali, in most other places, fly samples have not been processed, it's not due to any lab, particular lab. If you go to Mali, there are a lot of flies that were not processed. And it's not because of the lab's performance, but because there were issues related to which protocol to use. And so I think in such environment, we should try not to sort of confuse the issue with labs and give the impression that some labs are not performing and so on. If you go to Ethiopia, the lab is in Ethiopia. There are backlog of samples in Ethiopia. So let us try, and this lab issue should be taken as an issue that has to be sorted out clearly to the benefit of all onco programs, and not sometimes bring it up and then make it sound like one lab or the other lab is not doing well. The issues of which diagnostic to use, there have been issues of which reagents to order, and so on. So this is what I would want to share with the community, so that we don't start saying this was sent to this lab and this was sent to that lab. In Ghana, the labs are in Ghana, but the entomology has not been done. And this is because there were no reagents. The protocol was being changed. So I think we have to look at this in that lab issue and not try to say countries will have to send samples to lab outside and so on and so forth. Ghana, the labs are in Ghana. When did Ghana have their results? We have to look at all this.
Okay, thank you so much, Daniel, for responding to the question raised by Ngayo, you almost highlighted what I wanted to mention. But in addition to what you mentioned, what I would like to add is that Ngayo, si le pays a de capacité pour analyser ces échantillons, le pays peut aller de l'avant et les analyser. Le SPEN Lab n'est pas là pour analyser les échantillons de tout le pays. C'était mis pour accompagner le pays au début, et après, une fois les capacités sont renforcées au niveau du pays, chaque pays peut analyser ces échantillons et aussi envoyer peut-être une petite quantité d'échantillons pour le contrôle qualité au labo de Ouaga. Donc, ça c'est un. Le problème des réactifs s'est posé. Je peux vous dire, par exemple, que pendant la pandémie, la production de tests de diagnostic rapide avait connu, si je peux dire, un arrêt. Et c'est seulement vers 2022 qu'on commence à produire maintenant. Et avoir ces réactifs n'est pas une mince affaire. Donc, il y a tous ces facteurs-là qu'il faudrait prendre en compte. Et si vous avez votre laboratoire qui est qualifié, qui peut faire ces analyses, très bien, vous pouvez aller de l'avant et vous les faites, pourvu que vous ayez le protocole, et le protocole est disponible. Je pense que mes éléments de réponse et ceux fournis par Daniel ont permis de répondre à vos préoccupations, non seulement les vôtres et les préoccupations d'autres personnes sur les labos. Le labo est là, les labos analysent, Daniel l'a bien dit, vos échantillons collectés n'ont été reçus qu'en 2024. Et nous avons placé les commandes et nous sommes en train d'espérer avoir tout le nécessaire pour procéder aux analyses. Mais si vous aviez vos réactifs au Sénégal, vous pouviez aller de l'avant et les analyser. Donc, je vais m'arrêter par là sans pour autant trop m'appesantir. So, let me check if we still have some questions or some hands up. We have 3 more minutes to close this session on Q&A. Okay, I can see one hand up. Let me check. Feel free to take the floor. I'm scrolling down. The person who raised their hands, go ahead. Okay, Kenneth Otabil. Yes, Kenneth, go ahead. And then Sami, Prof. Sami. And Maria Gloria, the third one. Kenneth, you have the floor. Yes, Kenneth, go ahead.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. So my question was on the MDA coverage for Ghana. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that on the SPEN website, 2018 does not have any coverage. So I just wanted to verify from the country program if in 2018 there was a peculiar situation in the country.
Yes, Ghana, you have the floor. What's happened in 2018? There's no MDA data. Did you treat or you treated, but you did not report? Okay, we are going to look at this matter and maybe revert to you after the meeting. I'm going to give the floor to Professor Gloria. Maria Gloria, sorry. Prof, you have the floor.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Have I unmuted?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
I actually have I have two questions, but I'm going to ask the question that I think Dr. Datsi mentioned something very interesting, see if I understood it correctly. So there is some sparsity of data regarding black fly density, and he was talking about environmental change and the impact of, say, gold prospection, etc. Has there been a general decline in biting rates in those areas where entomological evaluations have been conducted? Is that something you noticed?
So, is he talking?
No.
declining biting rate. The declining biting rate. Can I answer to that?
Yes,
And then I will add on to that.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Yakum.
So actually, that was the observation, and as I mentioned earlier on, what part of the reason is actually the illegal gold mining activities ongoing. But as I say, we also know that it is generally so. In actual fact, I also went further to say that we have developed operational research to try to understand. And I spelled them out as satellite image analysis, and then also qualitative studies. We've developed those research work. Unfortunately, what is lacking is funding. We are hoping that probably NFund will be happy to support us in that. Earlier on, we had hoped to get backing from USAID, but didn't go through. So yes, there's a problem. We can only find it out by operational research to understand. And we're looking for funding for the protocol we've already developed.
but I guess what I was thinking is that if the biting rates have declined, then transmission has declined. And that transmission decline might not only be due to MDA. So, you know, in terms of modeling, we try to understand what is the impact of the biting rate and the transmission on the transmission and the impact of the interventions. So those type of data are really important to be able to improve modeling projections. But if Dr. Datsi, and I think I can see Boachi Boatan there as well. I thought I saw him earlier. Yeah, right, hi there. So looking at the OCP database, there would be biting rates, I suppose, in that database. So it would be perhaps a matter of doing some research and comparing the contemporary with the historical biting rates. That would be really helpful.
I may come in here, Maria.
Okay, so the two watches are there.
Yeah. The two OCP watches are here. Maria, the other thing that we need to take into consideration is that there seem to be, and Ernest mentioned it when he was presenting the Act to End West, that there seems to be a shifting as well in fly displacement. And so, for example, this year, last year, there was a big influx of black flies around Accra and areas around Accra, which has previously never been reported. So it appears that flies are also looking for newer places. And also in the areas where fly numbers have gone down, we're also doing breeding site surveys to find out whether flies are moving into different areas which were previously not considered as important. So last year we did some assessments, and there were places where you wouldn't expect to find flies, but then now almost all those places are having flies. So there might be a shifting in fly population distribution. And so the breeding sites that are currently being used may have to change as well. And so it's a dynamic situation that needs to be clearly understood.
That's great. And I think I put this question in the chat. I think the transmission zones as defined are rather large. What is the sampling distribution within those zones? How representative are the sampling sites, both for the serological evaluation and for the entomological evaluation across those transmission zones?
For now, what is being done is just because I think because of the time, the program and also the Dr. Dazi did not present the maps for you to actually see that the vector collection sites and also the communities for serology are well distributed in those areas. So it's more of the strategy was to look for vector collection sites that represent the entire operational transmission zone. So you have a lot across the whole operational transmission zone. But unfortunately, because of the time, maps and other things were not presented to show that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we are going to, at the end of this webinar, and it's already 2:15 in Brazzaville. And I would like to say a big thank you to the team in Ghana, a big thank you to our partners and donors from Site Servers, Fund, and USAID Act2 and NTD West Program. A big thank you to colleagues from Togo, colleague for their fair play. Thank you to Hugues, and thank you to Justine from Burkina Faso. As you can see, Ghana is making tremendous progresses, and they have been also doing some operational studies as presented by OPAR on the threshold. But as you can see, a lot needs to be done, and there are also some questions for which they are looking for funding to answer some of those questions. So it was a pleasure having you all today for this webinar, focusing on Ghana and some cross-border issues in neighboring countries. Our colleagues from Togo were not able to make it because of the time constraint. But I'm going to inform you that we have a webinar already scheduled for 11 June. And on 11 June, colleagues from Togo are going to present on progress made so far. For your information, they stopped MDA in one part of the operational transmission zone, the maritime operational transmission zone. And they have been also conducting some studies related to ONCO. And as you know, Togo was the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to be declared free of having eliminated LF as a public health problem. So once again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much to all the presenters. Thank you so much to our interpreters. Thank you so much to Nadia.
Hello, Doc, before you wrap up,
before
you wrap up, if I could say something.
Yes, go ahead.
Hello, Doc, can I say something before you wrap up?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
In 2018, there was MDA. And you saw that in my presentation. So if ESPN didn't get that data, then probably it was one of those data issues. Thank you very much.
Okay, we are going to look at it. As I said, if we don't receive GRF, don't reporting form, there's no way that we are going to update the MDA data. So we'll look at the GRF and fix it on the websites.
Thank you very much.
Once again, thank you so much, and good evening, good afternoon, and good night, depending on where you are. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lydia. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll see.